My name is Carrie, and at 29 years old, my brother registered his scam business at my place. He won't make a scene, Dad said. But I did, and federal charges were just the start. Let me know if I overreacted. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. Is this a normal Wednesday afternoon? I had given them a backup key for emergencies, but my father was clutching a tape measure. I watched from my phone as he began measuring my walls, not just glancing about, but aggressively measuring. My mother was taking notes on her phone while tilting her head and squinting as if she were visualizing new furnishings. Then my younger brother, Jackson, strides in behind them, as if he owns the place. He smirked. "This is perfect," Jackson remarked, sinking into my leather sofa and placing his feet on my coffee table. "Way better than that dump I've been crashing at. And Carrie's never even here. She's always at the office." My mother nodded, continued taking notes. "Well, need to move the desk out of the second bedroom, which can be Jackson's. Carrie may work from the office just like everyone else. I'm sorry." What? My father measured the doors, the hallway, and the entire 9 yards. Once Jackson's stuff is moved in, Carrie won't make a scene. She'll understand. Family comes first. We just need to do it while she's in San Francisco for that conference next month. I sat at my workstation watching these people plan to take my residence in real time. I began laughing, that frigid chuckle that makes your coworkers look at you as if you've gone insane. My business colleague Daniel looked up from his monitor with a "should I be concerned" face. Maybe he should be, because I just witnessed my family plotting a hostile takeover of my place. And instead of being startled or upset, I felt something quite different. Relief. Because now I had them all on video and I was going to make them regret every decision that led to this point. See, I am a software architect. I own 30% of a business that recently raised Series B investment. I make decent money, very nice money. And 4 months ago, after my mother took my grandfather's antique Rolex from my apartment, which was the only item I had from my father's father who cared about me, I put a comprehensive security system, cameras, motion sensors, and everything. 3 weeks later, an Instagram shot revealed the Rolex on Jackson's wrist. He informed his pals that he purchased it with his company revenues. Jackson's business revenues came from whatever MLM scam he was presently failing at. While Mom and a dad supported his lifestyle, I have been chronicling everything since then. Every talk, every time they picked Jackson over me, every contemptuous remark about how I should support my family while Jackson drained them, they simply gave me enough proof to bury them all. I emailed my brother, "Hey, want to grab dinner this weekend? It's been too long." 3 dots emerged, faded, and reappeared again. They were undoubtedly conversing, wondering if I knew. "Yeah, sounds good. Mom and Dad free too. Bring everyone. I'll cook at my house on Saturday." I had 4 days to prepare and 4 days to set the trap. And Jackson, that arrogant idiot, marched right into it, convinced he'd already won. I grew raised in Seattle, the oldest daughter of George and Margaret Kowalski. Dad had a profitable import business. Mom oversaw the rental properties they owned. We had money. We had a wonderful home in Bellevue. We had everything except that my parents did not see me. I had investors who quit investing as soon as Jackson was born. I was 8 when my brother came. And I went from firstborn to forgotten suddenly, the accountable one, the one who didn't require assistance because she was extremely skilled for her age. It's funny how an 8-year-old becomes self-sufficient when no one is watching. Jackson attended basketball camp, whereas I was told sports were a waste of time. He received a brand new Audi for his 16th birthday while I labored at Best Buy to purchase my own used vehicle. When I got into MIT, they indicated that state school might be more practical. Jackson barely finished high school, and they applauded as if he had conquered cancer. I bought him a condo near UW, despite the fact that he dropped out after 1 semester. I worked hard at MIT, in tech firms, and on my own startup. I acquired this flat in downtown Seattle 3 years ago. Corner condo with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay and the whole flex. It was my proof that I didn't require their approval or money. I gave them the extra key because deep down I wanted them to be proud of me. That key was going to cost them everything. The day after witnessing them measure my furniture, Jackson contacted me. "Hey sis, I need to ask you something important." I grinned at the phone. "Sure." Why don't you all come over Saturday? I'll make that Korean BBQ you guys like. I spent the next 4 days planning, but not cooking. I was gathering proof, bank papers for every loan I'd given Jackson that he never paid back, and screenshots of the 7 various company projects my parents had supported for him that all failed. Bank accounts show that I paid for family dinners, trips, and presents, whereas Jackson contributed nothing and took everything. However, the real job had been ongoing for months. C. Emily, Jackson's current girlfriend, contacted me over LinkedIn 12 weeks ago. The communication was professional and pleasant. She saw we shared a last name and decided to take a chance. Jackson had been using her credit cards to pay his new business venture, a cryptocurrency trading course, and MLM crap. He had maxed up 3 of her credit cards, totaling $35,000, while assuring her he was putting their money in a guaranteed opportunity. The opportunity involved him purchasing bottle service at clubs and attempting to recruit others into his downline. Emily had all of the receipts, and she'd been working with me to record everything because Jackson had also informed her that I was a trust fund child who'd never worked in my life. Meanwhile, he had informed my parents that Emily's family was affluent, and he was looking for business opportunities. All falsehoods. Emily was a nurse who worked double shifts as Jackson emptied her accounts. But the best part was that Jackson had lately started using my flat as his business address for his LLC. He used my address for company registration without asking, most likely to appear more credible to whichever targets he was now defrauding. That meant that every piece of mail, every legal document, and every indication of his questionable business practices was now linked to my property, and that was going to be helpful. Saturday arrived, and the weather was magnificent. I grilled Colby and had bench and set the table nicely. My flat seemed tidy, professional, and successful. Everything they had attempted to remove. The folders sat in my home office, waiting. The trap had been set, and Jackson was about to discover that the sister he discounted his whole life was far more intelligent than she appeared. They arrived at 6. Mom brought refreshments. Dad instantly began looking at the walls he had measured 3 days previously. Jackson strolled in with a grin, already acting like he belonged here. Emily followed him. She caught my glance and offered a little nod. She was in on it. "Carrie, this place looks great," Jackson replied, sliding into my couch, just like he did on TV. "You're keeping it clean for once," I asked, smiling. "Special occasion." Mom went directly to the kitchen. "You should really get better knives, sweetie. These are dull. I like them sharp enough to cut through nonsense, but thanks for the feedback." She blinked, unsure whether I had insulted her. We ate supper. Jackson dominated the conversation as usual, discussing his new business idea, how he was ready to blow up, and how he had investors lined up. Dad nodded along as if he were the next Elon Musk. Mom continued replenishing his glass. Emily remained quiet. "So, brother," I replied, putting down my chopsticks, "how's the apartment hunting going?" He exchanged stares with our parents. Dad jumped in as effortlessly as always. "Maybe you could help your brother out. You've got that extra bedroom collecting dust." "The office," Mom explained. "You could work from the company office like everyone else. Jackson needs a stable address for his business. Family helps family. Carrie." I took a leisurely drink. "That's interesting because I could have sworn I saw you all in here earlier this week, measuring my walls, planning where to put Jackson's stuff without asking me, without even telling me." The stillness was amazing. Jackson's sneer wavered. Dad's jaws clenched. Mom opened her mouth. "I have security cameras," I explained. "Full coverage. Installed them after Mom borrowed Grandpa Kowalski's Rolex from my bedroom. Remember that, brother? The Rolex you told your friends you bought with your company profits?" His cheeks turned crimson. "You said those were just for the front door." I lied. "And I have footage of you 3 preparing to move Jackson in while I am at a conference. Dad, do you want to hear your precise words?" I took out my phone and played the audio. Dad's voice filled my flat as clear as day. "Carrie will not cause a scene. She will understand. Family comes first. We only need to do it while she's in San Francisco next month." Emily moved in her seat, and I saw wrath flash over her face. She'd been duped about so many things, and now she was seeing it all come together. Dad began to bluster. "Now, Carrie, you're taking this out of context." "Context. You broke into my Phrygian house and planned a hostile takeover. That is the context. We're your family, Mom said, her voice rising. How can you be so selfish? Your sibling needs assistance right now. He's creating something significant. I chuckled. Is it important? Jackson, what business are you in again? What about this week? Cryptocurrency education, he stated defiantly, is going to be huge, Emily murmured quietly. It's a pyramid scheme. And all eyes went to her. He maxed out 3 of my credit cards. $35,000. For what? Photos from the Bottle Service Club on Instagram. Your business opportunity does not exist. Jackson's face changed from crimson to pale. What the heck, Emily? Don't. Her voice was cold. Carrie phoned me 2 months ago. We've been comparing notes. What the heck is going on? Dad inquired, perplexed. Mom gazed at them in confusion. Carrie, what is she talking about? I'm talking about your son being a fraud. Emily, would you like to show them the credit card statements? She took out a folder as I had taught her and spread the statements on my table, nightclub charges, designer clothes, and costly dinners. There wasn't a single justifiable business cost in the lot. Jackson told me he was investing our money, and Emily claimed he assured me we'd be millionaires by the end of the year. But now I'm $35,000 in debt, and he's been living like a trust fund child on my credit. That's not, Jackson sputtered. I can explain. Explain what I cut him off. Explain how you've been using my apartment as your business address without asking. Yeah, I know about it as well. You registered your LLC at my address without I obtained the public documents and contacted the firms you were permission interacting with. Kowalski Capital Ventures, LLC. That's your firm, correct? Which one are you using to trick people into buying your cryptocurrency course? He got up, knocking his chair back. You had no rights. You had no right to use my address. And do you know what else I discovered in those public records? You are under FTC investigation for misleading business practices. You are being sued by 3 distinct persons for fraud, and you've been hiding all of this by using my address so Mom and Dad wouldn't find out. Dad's face was stoned. Now, Jackson, is this true? It is all crap. Carrie is just envious because... Because what? I stood up. Because I created something real while you were conducting frauds. Because I worked hard while you lived off your parents' money. Because I paid for this home with money I earned, and you assumed you could simply take it. Mom was crying now. Carrie, please, he's your brother. He made mistakes, but his family forgives. Forgives, right? Wait a second. I strolled to my office and returned with additional files. Let me tell you what I'm forgiving. Jackson has borrowed $65,000 from me over the last 6 years, and you two have borrowed another $40,000. Jackson is living off Emily's credit cards, using my address for his scam business, and you 3 were planning to illegally move him into my apartment. I dropped the folders on the table. And this is everything. Every loan, every lie, every time you chose him over me. Jackson was sweating every time you told me to be more understanding while he took advantage of everyone around him. Now that you can't prove anything, I can prove everything. Bank transfers, text messages, emails, recorded conversations, and best of all, Emily's lawyer has filed a civil suit against you for fraud. The FTC is looking into your fraudulent business methods, and you've been using my address as your business registration without my permission, which will look really nice when the feds start inquiring about mail fraud. Dad finally found his voice, but it was wobbly. Carrie, daughter, I believe you are overreacting. This is still family. No, I said, families do not break into each other's houses. A family does not spend 3 decades teaching one child that she is worthless while the other child can do nothing wrong. I approached the door and opened it. Get out. All of you, leave your keys on the table. If you contact me again or come near this apartment, I will seek a restraining order. And Jackson, Emily's lawyer, is questioning me about everything. I am going to watch you burn. Jackson clutched his jacket, his face contorted with wrath. You are going to regret this. You think you're so clever with your job and expensive abode. You've always been a smug jerk, and now everyone will know it. Better a smug jerk than a fraud living off other people's credit cards. He rushed out, followed by Emily, who hesitated at the door and glanced back at me. Thank you, she said, and I nodded. She'd get her money back. I'd make sure of it. My parents departed slowly, my mother still sobbing, and my father wearing the controlled fury mask I remembered from childhood. "You're going to regret this," your dad whispered gently. "When you're alone and need family, we won't be there." "Good," I responded. "I've been alone all my life. I won't bother." After they went, I shut the door, turned the padlock, and strolled to my window where the cityscape stretched out in front of me, lights reflecting off Elliott Bay. My apartment, my refuge. Daniel contacted me as I was shutting up the office. "How'd it go?" "We burned every bridge. It feels amazing." "Drinks tomorrow." "Absolutely." I just nuked my entire family in one meal. And for the first time in my life, I felt really free. On Monday morning, I received 17 messages from my mother, each one more frantic and guilt-ridden than the one before it. After reading the first one, I blocked her phone as well as my father's and Jackson's, and the stillness was wonderful. Emily called that afternoon. Her lawyer had filed charges. Jackson had been served and was blowing up her phone, and I encouraged her not to respond since the material spoke for itself. She thanked me again for believing her and assisting her in building the case. Most individuals wouldn't have had the guts to contact their scammer's family, but she knew I'd listen. The following week was chaotic, but in a good way. Jackson had been conducting his business from 3 distinct addresses, mine, Emily's, and a P.O. box in Tacoma. The FTC had been working on a civil complaint based on deceptive trade practices for months. However, after my paperwork and Emily's proof arrived, the DOJ initiated a criminal investigation into wire and mail fraud. On Wednesday, federal authorities executed a search warrant at his flat. The evidence they discovered, fake testimonials, stolen course materials, and records of people he had scammed, sealed the case. Daniel forwarded me the news report with the heading, "Local Man Charged with Wire Fraud and Crypto Education Scheme." Jackson's mug shot looked precisely like what you would anticipate. I was stunned and startled to learn that there were consequences. "Your brother?" When I arrived at the workplace, Daniel questioned me. Not anymore. The greatest thing was watching Jackson's Instagram shift from flaunting lifestyle to utter radio silence. His fans began posting and asking concerns. Then someone linked to the fraud accusations, and Emily put a statement about financial abuse. Jackson's $1,800 cryptocurrency masterclass, which was basically YouTube videos he had stolen and repackaged, had about 40 students who had paid him, and none of them had learned anything but how to lose money. They all started coming forward, and the lawsuits began to pile up. My parents took a new strategy after that, sending my uncle, Dad's brother, to talk to me. Uncle Richard was a decent person who never played favorites and always treated me fairly. We met for coffee on Friday, and he told me straight out that his father had begged him to interfere, but he'd told him he was an idiot. He'd seen them screw me up for years. I had warned them they'd lose me, but they hadn't listened. Jackson had been a pampered brat since infancy, and everyone but my parents knew it. He took out his phone and informed me that Emily had contacted him and requested him to be a witness in her lawsuit against Jackson, and he had agreed without hesitation. That youngster needed to learn consequences, and my parents needed to learn that they couldn't allow their way out of this one. He pushed a business card across the table, including the contact information for his lawyer, who was already familiar with my predicament. I accepted the card and thanked him for his assistance in obtaining restraining orders or property protection. "Don't thank me," he added, "but don't allow them get back into your life. You are better off without them." He was correct. Jackson's arraignment was scheduled for the following Monday, and Emily kept me updated along the way. Jackson arrived in a cheap suit, accompanied by a bus lawyer, and his parents looked sad in the gallery. The court set bond at $45,000, and Dad had to use the home as collateral. Jackson scowled at Emily throughout, as if she had engineered his collapse rather than just chronicling it. Daniel, who had been my business partner for 4 years and had never criticized my family issues, asked me what I was going to do now that my family was collapsing and Jackson was facing federal charges. We were drinking at a Capitol Hill pub that night. I told him the truth. Nothing changes. I simply keep living my life. They were never really a part of it anyhow. Then my phone rang. An unknown number. "Carrie, it's your mother. I borrowed your father's cell phone. Kindly call me. Jackson needs assistance. He might be imprisoned. You are his sole family with the means to employ a skilled lawyer. I beg you." I showed Daniel the text, and he asked what I was going to do. Jackson had no money, but my parents did. They paid $35,000 to avoid Emily's civil action from going to trial, presumably expecting it would make the federal charges seem better for sentence. But it didn't work. I erased it and blocked the number. He made his decisions. 3 weeks later, Emily's civil claim was resolved. Emily sent me a message stating she had received the money and was paying off the cards. She noted that Jackson had attempted to put everything on me during depositions, claiming I had set him up out of jealousy, but nobody believed him because I had documentation for everything. Meanwhile, my startup achieved a significant milestone. We closed a deal with a Fortune 500 company, which meant my equity was now worth serious money, like retire at 40 money. Daniel and I celebrated by upgrading our office space and hiring 3 more developers. My life was objectively better without my family in it. After 6 months, I built a life most people only dream about, and my apartment remained mine. I'd started dating James, an Amazon product manager who hailed from a healthy home and couldn't understand the dynamics I'd grown up with. He fit into my life simply and organically, like partnerships should. Jackson's trial was scheduled for November, and the FTC accused him of wire fraud, deceptive business practices, and identity theft. Jackson's defense attorney attempted to negotiate a plea agreement, but the prosecutor was uninterested. They wanted to set an example. Jackson was living with my parents in their house, which they'd had to re-mortgage to pay for his legal fees and Emily's settlement. Dad's business had suffered, and Mom had to sell 2 of her rental properties. I didn't care about their situation. They'd made their decisions. Then, between code reviews on Wednesday afternoon, I received an email with the subject line, "We need to talk," and no sender name, but I recognized the sender and opened it nonetheless. "Carrie, it's your father. I am using a corporate email because you have blacklisted our phone numbers. I realize you don't want to hear from us, but I need you to know what you've done to this family." Jackson faces a jail sentence of 3 to 5 years. His lawyer claims that the only way to avoid it is to pay reparations to everyone he defrauded, which amounts to approximately $190,000. We don't have that much money anymore. We had to mortgage our home, sell assets, and deplete our retirement savings. Your mother's health is deteriorating. People in our community have stopped talking to us. Do you understand how it feels to be treated like criminals because of your own son? Carrie, I raised you better than this. I taught you to stand by your family no matter what. Where has that youngster gone? Your brother committed blunders. Yes, but he has paid for them 100 times over. He's attempting to rebuild his life and find genuine job, but no one will hire him with pending federal accusations. He's alone and suffering, and all he gets is criticism. Your uncle advises me to accept that you are no longer among us and have changed. But I can't believe that since honestly I'm not going to read the entire newspaper he sent. Anyway, he closed with, "Please call me. Let's get this fixed before it's too late." I read it again and recognized the manipulative patterns. The old Carrie, who had spent years trying to win bits of acceptance, would have felt crushing remorse. But the present Carrie saw it for what it was. I forwarded it to Uncle Richard with one sentence. "They're still at it," he answered within minutes. "Don't engage. They're desperate. Your brother is undoubtedly going to prison, and they are searching for someone to blame." I did not answer to my father's email because doing so would just confirm that this strategy worked. The second email arrived a week later, this time directly from Jackson. "Carrie, I know Dad wrote you. I understand you disregarded him. Not surprised. Ignoring those in need is one of your specialties, right? You sit in your luxurious apartment, appearing to be superior to everyone else. Meanwhile, your family is breaking apart. Do you know how my life is right now? I can't obtain a job. I cannot leave the state. I'm trapped living with my parents as if I were 16 again. You are the reason why everyone in town knows about my business. Emily received her money back. The FTC is pleased. Everyone got what they desired except me. And you? You have everything. Money, success, independence, and a boyfriend who may be unaware of your true personality. You ended the life I could have had. You ruined my business. You turned everybody against me. You ended my romance. And for what? Because you were envious because Mom and Dad loved me more. I know you believe you're really clever. Okay, congrats, sister. You won. But here's the deal. One day you'll be in that apartment, which you defend like Fort Knox, and you'll learn that no amount of achievement is worth anything without family. You chose vengeance over loyalty. You chose money over blood. I hope it was worthwhile. By the way, I know your routines. I know everything about your idyllic, and when combined with their documented trespassing 4 months ago and this escalating pattern, we can file for a restraining order, but we must document everything going forward because courts like patterns. How quickly can we move? I asked. I will file tomorrow, he replied. With the explicit threat and your documentation, we should get a temporary order within 72 hours and a full hearing in 2 weeks. I began keeping a detailed log of everything, every email, every blocked call, every social media interaction, to build an airtight case. 3 days later, the temporary restraining order came through. Jackson was ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from my home and workplace and to stop all direct or indirect contact. The full hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later, but the temporary order was enforceable immediately. Violation resulted in arrest and criminal contempt charges. My mother attempted one last email through her work account, claiming I was tearing the family apart for nothing. Richard's lawyer responded, stating that any future contact would result in harassment charges and evidence submitted at the restraining order court. The complete restraining order hearing took place 2 weeks later, and Jackson did not attend, most likely on the advice of his federal defense counsel. The judge made the order permanent based on the documented threats, the trespassing attempt, and the pattern of harassment. Violations resulted in immediate arrest. I updated building security with the court order and Jackson's photo, and Andrew, the head of security, flagged it in their system with instructions to call police immediately if he showed up. After 3 weeks, my mother wrote a last email, this time from her work account. Carrie, you are making a tremendous mistake. Getting a restraining order against your own brother. For what? An email? You are pulling this family apart for no reason. We have lost everything. Your father may have to declare bankruptcy, and you are concerned about an email. Jackson has suffered enough. You have already wrecked his life. Isn't this enough? I am your mother. I gave birth to you. I raised you. Doesn't this signify anything? Uncle Richard's lawyer responded, making it plain that any additional contact would result in harassment charges. We never heard from them again through official means, but my brother wasn't done. 3 weeks after the restraining order was made permanent, Daniel contacted me late at work. Carrie, you need to get home like right now. What's wrong? Jackson is at your building. When security couldn't contact you, they phoned me instead. He's in the lobby wanting to see you. I'm on my way. I made it to my building in 15 minutes, speeding the entire way, and when I got into the garage, I contacted building security. Ms. Kowalski, he's still here, said Andrew, the night security guard. He arrived about 40 minutes ago, stating there was a family issue. We informed him you were not here, and he wasn't on the approved list, but he refused to go. He says he'll wait all night if necessary. Call the cops, I said. He is not permitted to be within 500 feet of this structure. Already finished, Andrew replied. They are on their way. I simply wanted you to know before you showed up. I stayed in the garage, listening to the line. Through the phone, I could hear Jackson's voice in the background. Come on, man. I only need 5 minutes with my sister. There's been an accident. This is an emergency. Andrew replied calmly and professionally. Sir, I confirmed with Ms. Kowalski personally. There is no emergency. You are breaching a restraining order by being here. The police are on their way. This is me. She's my sister. She can't just cut me off like this. Sir, you need to leave the premises immediately or you'll be arrested. Let them arrest me then. At least I'll be able to see her face when they bring me out. She thinks she's untouchable up in her tower. I waited in my car and listened. Part of me wanted to walk up there and confront him, but I knew that was precisely what he wanted. There was a scene, and the cops arrived 8 minutes later. Through the phone, I heard them try to reason with him, and I heard him shift tactics from aggression to playing the victim. He fed them a story about trying to fix his family, about me turning everyone against him, about just wanting to talk. But the officers didn't buy it. They told him he was trespassing, that I'd confirmed there was no emergency, and that he needed to leave or face arrest. His voice changed again, this time filled with hate. Fine. Tell Carrie that her little tech girl existence will not endure forever. Tell her that people who burn bridges often end up alone. Tell her I am not done. Footsteps, voices. And then Andrew came back on the line to say he was gone. Officers had walked him to his car and watched him go. They were filing an incident report, and Andrew urged, I take extra precautions since the person appeared unstable. He was correct. I stayed in my car for another 20 minutes before going upstairs, locking my door, and standing in my living room, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Fear, not of Jackson, but of what he may do. He was desperate, and desperate people do dumb things. Jamie arrived, almost an hour later. I had contacted him about what occurred, and he drove straight from his house. Are you okay? He asked, throwing his arms around me. Yeah, I said, just irritated. That's acceptable. He moved back to look at me. What are you planning to do? Lawyers filing a violation report. We didn't talk much that night, but having someone there, someone who chose to be there without obligation or manipulation, reminded me of why cutting off my family was the right decision. Jackson might go to jail just for showing up here, and then he won't be able to come back. The violation report was filed the next morning. Jackson's bail was revoked, and he was taken into custody, pending his fraud trial. Uncle Richard called me that afternoon with an update. My mother had called him crying, asking if he could talk to me about Jackson's legal situation now that he was in custody. He told her Jackson had violated a court order, and he'd been warned several times. She didn't take it well. He also mentioned Jackson's defense attorney was scrambling for a plea deal. The restraining order violation, on top of the federal charges, killed any sympathy angle they might have had. Jackson's federal case moved quickly after that. His attorney negotiated a plea of guilty to wire fraud and mail fraud in exchange for 18 months in federal prison and 5 years of supervised release with full restitution to victims, which the prosecutor accepted. My parents would spend years paying off his debts while he served his sentence, and I would spend that time living my life completely free of them. After 15 months, Jackson was released. Federal inmates typically serve about 85% of their sentence with good behavior, so the timeline tracked. Uncle Richard informed me a week before his release date. He has been inquiring about you, apparently attended a rehabilitation program in jail. He says he wants to make amends. I laughed. That's extravagant. I'm simply telling you what I heard. Do with it what you will. I did nothing with it. I just ignored it. My life had become precisely what I wanted, and the business was lucrative. James and I had moved in together, and I'd totally recreated my social network with the appropriate people. Then Jackson showed up at my workplace, and Daniel entered my desk looking uneasy. Your brother is in the lobby. Security stopped him, but he wants to talk to you. I looked at the clock. 2:40 p.m. Tell security I'll come down, but I won't allow him up here. Let's get this over with. I rode the elevator down to the lobby where he was standing by the windows as if jail had hollowed him out. When he spotted me, he said, Carrie, thank you for coming down. You've got 5 minutes. He surveyed the foyer. Nice place, he commented. You guys are doing great. 4 minutes. He took a breath and began his apologies. He said he understood he had fouled things up and wanted to apologize, but I cut him off after about 90 seconds. Nah, I said. You're sad you were caught, not because of what you did. His expression hardened. Jail transformed me. I had learned and grown. I reminded him that prison did not change him. It only eliminated his access to victims. You are being unjust, he said. I'm trying to make amends here. Don't, I replied, going closer. You're attempting to use me again. I can't be fooled anymore, brother. His mask almost fell for a brief moment, and he caught himself. I should have known you'd be like this, he muttered. Richard warns me. You said you would never forgive me. He's a smart man, I remarked. That's when the real Jackson came out, with the same tirade about how I believed I was better than everyone, how my parents were broke, how he couldn't find work, how Emily stole everything, and how I looked down on them all like garbage. You know the difference between me and you, brother, I said as he ran out of steam. I learned from my failures. When you fail, you blame everybody else. He tried the familial responsibility argument, asking if I was going to hate him forever and never give him another chance. I'm not going to think about you at all, I said. That's the point you're missing. You're just some guy I used to know who kept making bad decisions. You cannot say that. I am your brother. No, you're someone who carries my DNA. And here's what happens next. You're going to leave. Never contact me again. Never visit my workplace or residence, and never reach out via anybody else. You got out of jail. Good for you. Now go establish your life somewhere distant from me." "I mean, if I don't?" he asked. "You will keep making the same mistakes. But you keep away from me while you do it, because I'll make sure you always face the repercussions." He attempted to call me out, but when I said that his probation officer could be extremely interested in hearing about him bothering the sibling he was ordered not to see, his expression altered dramatically. He clutched his jacket, his face contorted in fury. "You are a cold jerk. Do you know that?" "Yes, I know that." "We aren't done, Carrie. One day you'll need us, but we won't be there. Promise." He gazed at me for a long moment. "Screw you," he eventually muttered. "Right back at you, little brother." He turned and walked out. I saw him cross the street, get into a beat-up car, and drive away. I went back upstairs, where Daniel was waiting at my desk. "Do you think he will try again?" "Nope. He knows I'll have him arrested. He's not stupid enough to return to prison." Daniel nodded. "Good, because we have that investor meeting in an hour, and I need you focused." "I will be." I hung up and glanced around. This was my life now, built from the ground up and secured by limits I'd learned to set. My brother would most likely try again, either through my parents, a common acquaintance, or a desperate email or phone call years later, and I would ignore, block, or delete it because I had learned the most crucial lesson. Some individuals will take all you have and yet feel they deserve more. The only way to defend yourself is to entirely block them off, build a life they can't access, and thrive in regions they can't enter. That was the only manner of retaliating that counted. Little existence. Don't believe you're untouchable just because you have money and cameras. Karma is a beach, big sister. I read the last paragraph twice, and it was a threat. I forwarded both emails to the lawyer for review, and he called me within an hour. The threat in the second email gives us what we need: